in the name of personal injury law.
Hello. Today we're going to talk about the realities of catastrophic injuries from motor vehicle accidents. I'm here today with Steve Sinas, who's a partner at the Sinas law firm, and he brought with him a couple of very special guests. Steve, would you introduce them?
Absolutely. I have Andrea and John Kenzer. They are technically former clients of the firm. Andrea is John's mother. John sustained catastrophic brain injuries in a motor vehicle crash. He's made an amazing recovery. Proud to have been his attorney. And we're here to talk more about John's story and how it plays into Michigan NoFault insurance and what that issue is all about.
And I noticed that there's a tablet or iPad in front of John.
Yes, that's right. And John, due to his brain injury, he can communicate, but he has a hard time verbalizing his words. So he has an iPad here through which he can communicate. John, how you doing today?
Good.
Nice.
Thank you, John.
Thanks.
So, Andrea, could you tell us about the crash that caused your son's injuries?
Sure. Approximately 2002, a week before Thanksgiving in November, John was working part-time, taking college classes at Kendall because he wanted to be a cartoonist, and he played hockey a lot because he was a big hockey fan too. And he came home from playing hockey, hit black ice, his car hit a tree, and that was basically the start of John's really long road to recovery. So yeah, he was in the hospital in intensive care for probably a week. And then after he was out of critical care, then they put him I think he went to Kent Community Hospital.
How long was it before he came home?
6 months.
Wow.
He was in the hospital 6 months. And because he was an adult, I had to get guardianship of him. So it took a while to do that. But in the meantime, he was in the hospital kind of in a coma for, being tube fed. Absolutely no response from him, nothing. The doctors basically had said to me, this is the worst kind of brain injury there is. There's nothing to do for it. No draining of bleeds or anything like that. So he said you should prepare yourself that he probably won't make it.
So let's talk a little bit about the rehabilitation process, which it sounds like was a really long process for your family.
It was. He starved first. I mean, he couldn't eat, so he was being tube fed, and there were so many, just when you've hit your head like that, there are so many other things that go wrong. None of his digestion worked, none of that. So
Motor function as well.
No motor function, the only thing he could do was write after a while. But so he was in a long-term care facility, and that's where they told me to keep him, so that because he would never recover. He was kind of, I think, what they call a vegetative state, but I had a different idea, honestly. So I went to court, got guardianship of him, asked my other kids if they wanted him home since he was bedridden, on a tube, on a ventilator, everything. Asked if they wanted him home, even if he never got any better, and they said yes. So that's when I went about the business of bringing him home, because I thought, even if he doesn't get better, we'll be together as a family, all under the same roof. So yeah, then
And you were able to get therapies in the home, and you
therapy,
had the care in
yes,
the home.
Yep, therapy does come in the home. It did. They came and evaluated him first, and the only thing that he could do was give a thumbs up. That's all.
So let's talk about how the NoFault system helped provide rehabilitation for your son.
Well, I'll just start by saying, as we've talked about before on this show, and I talk about all the time, what we have here in America is a health insurance system that doesn't service all, and it doesn't service all types of injury. And what we have with the NoFault system is a system that provides for whatever is reasonably necessary. And I've had the privilege to represent them. There's been some fights along the way with the insurance company, but they've resolved. And my understanding is that John's recovery is much of a function of the fact that he had these resources.
Oh, exactly. That's the only reason. That's the only reason, because if those weren't available, if there was no NoFault, he definitely would have gone to a nursing home, because you couldn't care for him at home with that kind of injury. You just couldn't. So he would have been in a nursing home, and his doctor at the time actually said, because when I asked him, he said the general 18 months is the length of time they spend in a nursing home, and then they mostly die of either infection or pneumonia.
And he had this motor function impairment due to the brain injury, and he was in a wheelchair for so long, but my understanding is that he had this ongoing therapy. You were diligent about it, he was, everybody was committed to it, and now he's walking.
He's walking. He's walking. He still uses a wheelchair at night because if he's tired or if he gets sick, his balance is terrible, and he has taken a few falls here and there.
So what kind of providers or care providers were able to come into your home because of the NoFault benefits that you had?
We had 24-hour help in the home, and it was home health aides, and also therapists would come in, I think 5 days a week.
But here's the thing, though, in terms of this no-fault reform issue. The reforms say that family can only provide 56 hours of care. What the Kensers did is that they all committed to providing care.
I'm sorry, 56 hours?
56 hours of care
week?
per week. So John needed 24-hour care. They came up with a way through the family to provide that. Miss Kenser didn't work and rather cared for her son, and that's worked for them. And now the new laws have this limitation of 56 hours a week, and to make matters worse, the law is written such a way to intend to apply to the Kensers. So in about a year from now, they're going to have to face the reality of whether their insurance company is going to continue to fund the fact that he's getting all this care at home, which is being paid at a very reasonable price. And it's all working. But now the new law jeopardizes that possibly, right?
It does, yep, it does, because the new law, as I understand it, says that you can't have family more than 56 hours. I am the only family that takes care of him now. And I've had caregivers, it's not as easy as all that. You know, they're not reliable. They don't work John out hard. I mean, I am picky about, but I want him to get better. And this is the result of when you work really hard. Right. And I even had my identity stolen with one of the, so I'm very against having them in the home. I'd love help, but it has to be reliable. And I don't want to be told you can't have any family helping, you can't have any, because that's how the law is written now. No family, no nothing. Now that won't change the fact that I still have to watch him 24/7. Right.
Well, thank you, Andrea and John, so much for coming on with us today. We really appreciate you sharing your story.
Oh, it was our pleasure.
Thanks for being here.
In the Name of Personal Injury Law is brought to you by the Sinas Law Firm.